بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا فما بعد. My brothers and sisters, the most important thing, we're talking about happiness, and we're talking about what I mentioned in the last khatira, the issue of happiness and how do you become happy, what makes you happy. So it's not just a question of saying be happy doing what. Now, it's very important to understand this because, as I mentioned yesterday, people can be happy in some very negative ways, and therefore, happiness is not a reliable meter to judge whether one's life is going on track or not. Now, therefore, what is the right track? How do you measure happiness? And what should you do? I believe that the correct and the most reliable way of trying to be happy is to live a life of purpose. Not just randomly live. To live is not merely to breathe. To live is not merely to draw breath. To live is to achieve something worthwhile, to create a legacy, to do something and create some results which carry on after you, to spread goodness wherever you might be. That to me is the true true description of happiness. So live a life of purpose. One of the most valuable and useful things to do is to read biographies. It doesn't matter whose biography you read, but read biographies. The best biography to read, of course, is that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented his Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam as the best of examples for all people and of all time. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for you the best example is the life of my Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is for the person who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who believes in the last day of judgment, and who looks forward to the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So any person of Iman, the best biography to read, absolutely required reading, is the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to study the seerah mubarakah of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this forward as the best thing to do. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, as I said, read any biography, right? Anyone. Because no matter whose biography you read, whether you read the biography of a good person or a bad person, it teaches you something. And the reason I'm saying biographies is because, to the extent possible, they are as true as any story might be. And though biographies, like all histories, are colored by the people who write them, and no matter how objective a author might say he is or she is, or no matter how objective they think they are, there will be some bias and some leaning towards whatever the author considers to be worthwhile. But leave that aside, that doesn't matter. Now, that is perfectly okay. Majority of what you're going to read will be fact, will be something which actually occurred, which happened. I love reading biographies, and one of the authors I strongly recommend is a man by the name of John Mann. He's written a biography of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi rahmatullah alayhi. It's called Saladin. And he's written another one of Genghis Khan. If you read both, it's called Genghis. If you read these, it's a good way to read these two as well, as a comparison between two of the most powerful leaders the world has ever seen and who had an amazing impact, but two extremely different people, two totally different people. And it is a good thing to read this and to then reflect and say, well, what is it that makes them different? Quite apart from asking yourself the question and saying, well, who do I want to be like? But even if you don't go there, say, what is it that makes them different? So, read biographies. Now, when you do that, you will realize that anyone in this world who has had an impact, irrespective of the kind of impact, anyone who had an impact was able to do that only because they wanted to do that. They were clear in their minds. They had a purpose. They were living with a purpose. They were living for a purpose, to achieve something. And they were able to achieve it to whatever extent. But they were able to achieve it, and the reason they were able to achieve it is because they were clear in their minds as to what they wanted to do. So I remind myself and you, let us learn to live a life of purpose. Live consciously, live deliberately, live thoughtfully. Exercise your mind and exercise your thought. Exercise your choices. All of us, no matter who we are, no matter where we find ourselves placed in the story of life, we have choices. I want to give you a measure of comparison. We have choices, but we must convert those choices into options. The way I differentiate that is that if you walk into a store, say you walk into TJ Maxx, what are the choices you have? The choices you have are everything that is displayed in TJ Maxx which is for sale. Every single shirt, every single trouser, every single suitcase, every single whatever TJ Maxx is selling, which is out on their shelves, every single one of those is a choice. But how many options do you have? You have options in relation to the amount of money in your pocket. Or let me expand that and say the amount of money that you have access to. So maybe in your pocket, maybe your credit limit on your credit card, maybe something you can borrow from somebody, whatever, right? So the extent of options is related to the amount of resources. What resources can you bring to bear? So what we need to do is in life, if you want to succeed and be happy, we need to increase the number of options. Choices are there. Choices are everything on the face of the earth is a choice. But the options, convert the choices into options by bringing to bear resources. So consciously do that. And then when you have the options, then you say, well, okay, now I've got 3 options. I'm going to do 1, 2, or 3. Whichever, right? And based on the benefit that we can gain from that. This is the whole the whole point of it. How can I increase my options? So when you lead your life deliberately, consciously, to achieve a certain purpose, you will find that automatically you will feel energized, you will be happy, you will feel that your life has some meaning. It's not just randomly just something is happening and you are a witness to your own life, but you are somebody who has consciously made a choice, and because of the choice now you have a life which you are leading which is meaningful. I think that is where we should focus on. Now the way to do that is every morning before you start out, make a list of 3 things that you need to achieve that morning, that day, in order of priority. First, 1, 2, 3. And the orders of priority will be based on your own life goal. So if you want to lead your life according to a purpose, you must have a purpose. So first advice to you is write down your life goal. As clearly as possible, write it down. And then every morning, write a list of 3 things that you must accomplish on that day based on the life goal in terms of importance, and write the 3 in order of priority. Most important, next important, next important. And at the end of the day, do muhasibah. Do a self-assessment of how did I do today. I set out to achieve certain goals. Was I able to achieve all of them, some of them, and so on. So clearly do that. And once you've done that, then you write down the goals for the next day. If you live like this, believe me, you will not have depression, you will not be sad, you will not have any confusion, your anxiety will completely come down, you won't have anxiety. Now you might say, how will I not have anxiety because I still have a goal, can I achieve it? No. Anxiety is not because you have a goal or don't have a goal. Anxiety is because you are unclear about how to achieve that goal. So the goal is putting pressure on you, but you have not done anything about it. So the goal is also not clear. It's some vague thing of, I want to be successful, I want to be happy. What does it mean? So if you become clear about that, specify the goal, and then the 3 things per day that you're writing is your roadmap for that day. I must achieve this and this and this. You do that, you will find that you will be very happy. So let us learn to lead a life of purpose. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.